crazy ones. You guys know something? Cody Bateman is crazy. Yeah. People have told me that. And you know what I say to him? You're right. He is. You know, most people out there, they think we're crazy. And most of us are trying to be cool. So like when they say we're crazy, we're thinking in our minds, well, I want to be cool so I can't be crazy. And it causes us all kinds of issues. See, the difference is the people that make it big in our business, they start to see that crazy is cool. So, a few of you have heard this story. I got a phone call from my friend Gary Allen, who's a realtor with Keller Williams. And Gary said, I've got this friend I want you to meet. He's seen our video, and he thinks this is a really great business, and he wants to meet with us. And so we arranged to meet at Life Restaurant the next day at 11:30 a.m. And I walked into the restaurant, and I was there with Gary. And Gary walks over, and I could tell by the expression on Gary's face that he wasn't even a little bit interested. Not even a little bit interested. And I said to Gary, I said, what's up? I said to David DeMarco, I said, David, what's up? Gary said that he showed you the video and that you're really interested. And he started to go into a speech of all the reasons why he hates network marketing. And in my mind, now my old self would have been trying to be cool, but I think network marketing is cool, and I get that he thought I was crazy for doing this business. So I just listened to him, and I acknowledged him. I didn't argue with him. And he went on and on and on about all the reasons why he hates network marketing for 5 minutes. And then he stopped. And I said, is that all? He said, no. And he goes on for another 5 minutes about why he hates network marketing. And when we're done, very similar to Casey's story, I'm not editing the story at all. This is exactly how it went. When we're done, when he was done, I pulled up my phone and I said, David, can I show you something? And he said, sure. And I clicked on the app and I took a selfie with us. That's the picture that you see up there, that's Dave. I took the selfie, I put it on the front of a card, I voiced in a text, I add the brownies, I hand him the phone, I asked him to put his address in the phone, I hit the send button, and this is exactly how it went. It wasn't edited. He goes, I know a lot of people that could use that. How much does it cost to be a distributor? I said $395. He reaches in his wallet, pulls out his credit card, and says, let's do it.
That's what happens when you get like Jordan.
Some of you know I have a home up in the mountains in Jerome, Arizona. And I left the screen door open one day, and a hummingbird got in. And it flew straight over to the picture window, and it was flying up against the glass. And I don't know if you know this, but you can't catch a hummingbird. I did not know that, but you can't catch them. They're just too fast. I was trying to get the hummingbird to fly towards the door, and I was trying to swish it to the door, and it would not go towards the door. It just wanted to go towards this big picture window. And so I went into the kitchen, and I got this pitcher, and I went over to the window. I tried to catch the hummingbird at the window, and you can't catch a hummingbird. So this went on for an hour, and I got a little nervous because I had to leave. I had an hour, and I had to leave, and the hummingbird, for a whole hour, I could not get the hummingbird to fly towards the door, and I couldn't catch him, and I knew if I left, that hummingbird would die. That's all the hummingbird would have had to do is focus on the door, which was wide open, and it could fly to freedom. But I knew that if I left, that hummingbird would continue to fly towards the glass, which ultimately would have led to its death on the windowsill. 10 feet away, a wide open door. One direction leads to freedom, the other direction leads to death. One direction is effortless, the other direction represents massive struggle and crisis. What if our crazy thoughts, the ones that lead us in the direction that's non-conventional, the direction that doesn't make sense, like network marketing for some people, for most people? What if that's the direction that leads to freedom? What if it's focusing on those things that aren't logical sometimes, like when somebody is negative about network marketing, listening to them and not arguing with them, acknowledging them and not trying to make them wrong. I got a phone call from a distributor in my organization. This was a number of years ago. It's an unbelievable story. I got a phone call from a guy in my organization, a woman actually, and she said, there's somebody talking negative about you on the internet. And I didn't like that, and so I Googled my name, and sure enough, this thing came up, and it was a little review of me on the internet. And this guy, turns out he's an internet marketer, and some internet marketers, what they do is they find people that are a little higher profile, they say something really negative about them to drive traffic to their site. I'd never heard of this guy before, but he said, this guy, Jordan Adler, I don't know who he is or what he does, but if I were you, I'd stay far away from him. I didn't like that. I called a friend of mine who was an attorney, and I said, what can we do to get this off the internet? And he said, well, $250, we'll do a letter, and we'll certify the letter and send it to him, and he'll take it down. I didn't want to act immediately, so I wanted to sleep on it for a night. And so the next morning I was leaving for San Diego to go to a Treat 'em Right seminar with Cody and the rest of the team. And I get to San Diego, and I take the shuttle over to the hotel, and get to the hotel, and Dave Smith is there, and we're having dinner on Friday night. And I told Dave and Cody the story, and how I was getting ready to send this letter to this guy, Jason. Dave says to me, why don't you send a card? Hadn't thought of that. Little non-conventional, right? So, I go, you know what, you're right, I'll give that a shot. So the next morning, I get on my computer, I pick a card, it says the road to success is paved in coffee, and I told Cody's story in the card. In the card, now there was actually 2 cards that I sent, this is one of the cards, but I sent 2 cards on the same day. One of them had a $5 Starbucks card in it, and it said, I would love to take you to coffee. I told Jason that I thought he was a brilliant marketer. I said, I think you're a genius. I said, I'm not happy about you writing something negative about me on the internet, but you're a brilliant marketer. What a great way to get traffic to your site. And I would appreciate it if you took that off your website. And by the way, here's a $5 Starbucks card. I'd love to kick some ideas around with you sometime in the future. Let's have coffee. I sent that to Jason at Dave's suggestion. About a week later, I go to Jason's website. I Google my name, I look him up on there, I find my name on his website. He said, Jordan Adler is one of the most brilliant marketers I've ever met. He took the negative posting down and wrote a really positive posting, and even talked about the card that he had received with the $5 Starbucks card and how I had invited him to coffee. Now there's more to the story. I told that story in Dallas, Texas, in front of a group of a couple hundred people. There was a guy in the crowd under Bob and Betty Ann Golden named Otto Boric, who's a chef on the Food Network. Otto hears me tell the story, immediately goes out, finds Jason's contact information, contacts Jason, gets on the phone with him, and he says, you know that guy Jordan Adler that sent you the card with the $5 Starbucks card? And Jason said, yeah. He goes, do you know what he does really? And Jason said, no. He said, can I show you? Jason said, you have 5 minutes. Otto shows Jason our business. Jason signs up in the business. Not only does Jason sign up in the business, but he becomes the fastest executive in Send Out Cards history, and puts over 1,000 distributors in my organization, and somewhere in the range of 3,000-4,000 customers in my organization. Now, I could have sent a $250 letter from an attorney that probably would have resulted in some negative consequences, but instead, because Dave suggested, I sent a card. It's a different way of thinking, isn't it? Yeah. You know, in my last company, I purchased my dream home in the mountains of Arizona. And it was a beautiful mountain home in the forest. It had tall cathedral ceilings. It had big picture windows that kind of framed the valley below. The sky and the mountains were like a beautiful painting. The pine trees came right up through the decks, and when the wind blew, it sounded just like the ocean. Every day is Saturday in my world. One Sunday night in October, I was cruising up to Pine, up the road in my convertible. The top was down, the wind was blowing, the sun had set, over the mountain roads. The mountain roads kind of snaked up through the pine forest, and what I noticed that night taught me a really valuable lesson. As I drove up the mountain, I noticed a chain of car lights that went for 50 miles coming down the mountain. It was on the southbound road coming down the mountain. I was going up the mountain. There were a chain, 50 miles of a chain of car lights. I was the only one going up the mountain, and that night thousands of cars were coming down the mountain. The mountains were a weekend vacation retreat for the masses, but I lived up there. I was driving up on Sunday night while everyone else was driving down. You see, what happened on Saturday night was the boss started to rattle that chain that Steve was trying to get you to unlock. The boss started rattling that chain that was attached to the ankles of all those people that had to go into work on Monday. And I guarantee you that if that chain didn't exist, the majority of them would have stayed on vacation. Winning as an entrepreneur means thinking differently. It means going against the grain. It means driving in the other direction. It means standing up for what you believe in. Here's how I see it. We're not average. We're not average. We'll do what average people won't do. That means doing more of the right activities than the average distributor does. We're not going to talk about doing more than the average couch potato. That would just get you better than average results. We're talking about the difference between plodding along or having a banner, kick some butt, worth talking about year. If the average distributor reads one book a year, you need to read one book a month. If the average distributor watches 2 to 3 hours of the news on TV every night, you need to turn off the TV. If the average distributor is sending about 1 card per day, you need to send out 3 cards per day. If the average distributor never makes it to a Promptings Academy or a boot camp, you need to go to 3. If the average distributor meets 1 new person per day, you meet 3 new people per day. If the average distributor shows the business twice a week, you need to do 2 per day. If the average distributor doesn't make it to a Monday night call with Stephen Vanessa or with myself, you need to commit to be on all of them. If the average distributor is afraid to share send-out cards, then make sure that everyone you know knows what you're up to. If the average distributor does send out cards on the side, then you consider doing send out cards as a major positive force in your life. If the average distributor doesn't follow up, make sure you follow up with everyone you meet. If the average distributor gives up easily, you never give up. If the average distributor has little vision, then you be the light leading the way. That means you do it first. My challenge to you is to begin today to define yourself as someone who wins. Not just someone who gets by or makes a living, but someone who wins in a big way. You aren't average. You weren't put on this earth just to get by. You recognize that average will get you nowhere. You must be exceptional if you want to win. You must start thinking differently. Just like the crazy ones. Begin today to own your power. You've been given a chance to change so many lives. My challenge to you is just to do a little more each day, maybe a lot more. Make send-out cards a top priority in your life. Don't be like most people. Most people are dabblers. Most people are complainers. Most people play small. You're not like most people. You were born to win. Instead of trying to work send-out cards into your life as a kind of a side business, a little side business, make send-out cards your life. Don't be afraid to be a part of the movement. In fact, you be the movement. There's never been a time to win big with this company. Now is your time. We'll see you on the beach. Thank you.
Yeah.